Sometimes we find ourselves wanting to give attention that we just don't have the energy to do. So I'm going to give you 5 things that you can use to help you be more present with your family. Let's dive right in with the first one. Now, this first one may seem obvious, and yet we struggle to do it, and it's eye contact. Maintaining eye contact with the person who's speaking to you or who you're trying to be present with can do wonders for helping you stay present in that conversation. And if you really want to amplify this approach, try doing physical touch. Now, it doesn't mean to put the person you're talking to in a bear hug and stare at them wide eyed while you're having a conversation, but it does mean that if you put a hand on a knee or a hand on a forearm or something that feels comfortable and natural as a physical way for you to connect with your spouse or one of your kids. So, by maintaining eye contact and having that small amount of physical touch, that can help your mind stay focused on the conversation and let go of whatever matters from work or home or bills or whatever else might be trying to distract you. Number 2 is to have some kind of trigger phrase. Now, when I first began implementing a trigger phrase in my family, it had to do with wanting to make sure that my wife and I weren't even thinking about touching our phones while we were driving. So I invited my kids that if I was ever looking at my phone or touched my phone other than a red light or something like that, that they would just start going, precious cargo, precious cargo. I tell you, what originally felt like an unbreakable habit actually became really simple. And now I find myself wondering why it seems so impossible to just put my phone away for a whole car drive. Having a trigger phrase is an effective way for your spouse or your child to let you know that they need your attention. It's also a good reminder to give your full attention and go all in. That this just isn't some willy-nilly thing that they're just spouting off to hear themselves, but they're actually looking for you to engage. They're actually looking for you to be present. An example of a trigger phrase that you can use to help you be more present with your family is one that we use with our kids, where we'll say, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, and the children will respond, 1, 2, eyes on you. That can actually go both ways, where our kids use it for us when they need our attention. My wife and I will also have a simple trigger phrase simply as, hey, I need you for a few minutes. The key with the trigger phrase is don't overcomplicate it. Make it something simple and easy to remember, even fun when you say it, to help you snap out of whatever mental rut you may be in or distraction may be holding your attention. The number 3 thing that you can do is to schedule time with your family like they're your number 1 client. If you have your number 1 client or your number 1 associate and they're booked in your calendar, do you give them half-hearted attention or are you all in on helping get their needs met? Do the same thing with your family because frankly, your spouse should be the number 1 individual in your life with your children following close behind. By scheduling time, you are being intentional about how you show up for your family. That intention naturally leads you to be more present. But hey, Joe, we can't always schedule life. So I'm supposed to put into my calendar the 5 minutes I'm going to talk with my kids. You can't always schedule things, but there are some bigger one-on-one time commitments that each of your family members need from you. And those are key to schedule. Even if it's once a week or once a month, if it's a date night you're scheduling with your spouse, if it's activity time with one of your children, maybe you go for a walk each day with a different child so that you can have that individualized attention that they need and crave to develop the family that you desire. So don't be afraid to schedule time with your family like they are your number 1 client. The next thing that you can do to be more present with your family is to develop some kind of closeout routine. This idea comes from Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, where he talks about minimizing transition time from one activity to the other with some kind of closeout routine. Now, I don't remember exactly what he shares as his closeout routine, but essentially it goes something like closing the books on his desk, wiping his hands as though he's all done, and saying, finished with work. Now, if I got that wrong, Cal, I apologize, but the principle remains the same. You can come up with some kind of simple, quirky, whatever it is that you need technique to close out your time with work and let your mind and your body know that you are ready to focus on your family. At that point, anything that you have not done for work or other responsibilities gets shifted to the next day, allowing your mind to be free and present with your family. The 5th thing you can do to be more present with your family is something that is so incredibly obvious, and yet very few of us actually do it. This is to leave your phone somewhere else. Now, I'm not suggesting you leave it at the corner gas station or in some cart at Costco, but in a different room. If you and your wife are in the bedroom, have your phones in the hallway. Leave your phone far away from the dinner table when it's time to eat. Have boundaries. Where you sit to cuddle with your kids or to watch shows or anywhere where you may potentially engage with your kids, allow that to be a phone free zone. By setting this example, you're also allowing your children to follow that same opportunity. It wasn't that long ago, or maybe it was and I'm just in denial, but it seems like just yesterday that the only time you had access to a phone was if you walked into the kitchen, picked it up on the receiver, and you could only take it with you as far as the phone cord stretched. Is it possible that one reason we find it more difficult to be present than at times when the phone was attached to a cord is because now we have a supercomputer that we carry in our pockets filled with all kinds of bells, whistles, distractions? You can choose to remove that. You can choose to set that aside. In fact, if you bring your phone into a no phone area, you could even have a trigger phrase to remind you to go set it back outside the area so that you can stay and be present. And once you do come back to be present, why don't you sit down, put your hand on your spouse's knee, and make some eye contact while they tell you about your day. These are 5 tips that you can implement today, right now, that will make it easier for you to be present with your family. Until next time, keep moving forward.